Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cindy.
And we're here with another Feeding Frenzy for Course in Weight Loss by Marianne Williamson. And we're off to a pretty good start, I think.
It says, only God has the power to comfort, nurture, and sustain me. I thought, okay, I've replaced God with food. You know, I've looked to food instead of God. And so thank God for the weight gain, because it's forced me to realize that fact. That
That's good insight.
it's God I should be worshiping and not the food. It's God I should be looking to for the comfort and the, that I should trust. So I'm thankful for the problems I have, because they remind me to look to God instead of money or food or whatever.
And I know that once I get out of the way and allow my natural processes to work, my body is always striving to get back to a healthy state. Now, because I have spent so long retraining my body to a different weight, then that state it gets back to, it's been reset. I reset that bar. I don't even, are you an emotional eater?
I don't think so. Occasionally. If I get really down, then chocolate's about the only thing that's going to help me.
I do. I think of food first. So I had to come up with a different plan, because I know every time I start something new, I've got resistance here. I've got this consciousness that said, hold on just a minute, you're taking away my only coping system. I've got to have a different plan, so I don't naturally go to food. So I have replaced it with a prayer partner.
Ooh, good.
So now when I get that urge, I'm going to call my prayer partner.
Good for you.
And it's just like...
So it's almost like your sponsor.
Yes, exactly what I was going to say. I chose to have a sponsor through this.
Good.
And it's not you.
Right.
But that's
good.
Okay. No, well, and it needs to be someone else.
Right.
Outside of my normal, because if I'm pitiful enough,
I'll go buy it.
You go buy it,
Just have some peace.
Yes. Yes, you will. So it became important to find someone else that I trusted to help me pray through this. And so I have a very wonderful prayer partner. And
yes, you do.
I'm going to reach out and end up touching her often, Hey.
I may need to call her and say,
you might need to call her up. She's not calling you. You need to call her. But I think it's important also. It was important for me to make the commitment to myself, knowing my own habits, to put in place before I start this another way to reach out. This isn't a diet. This is a change.
Right.
And there is no fail to a change.
Right.
Every time I start something, I get something. And the more I put into it, the more I get out of it.
So we need to celebrate.
So there is no fail.
Right. We need to celebrate every little progress.
Every progress needs to be celebrated.
Just like we celebrated a little bit yesterday about leaving food on my plate. And you did for not jumping into a bowl of ice cream when things got tough the other day. So... yeah, we need to celebrate every little progress. It's important to realize this is a practice. And with any kind of practice, most people don't just start out playing the piano 100% correct. You make a lot of mistakes. Babies don't start walking without falling down. With any practice, you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
And it's not that we're just going to be perfect at this right out of the gate. So I'm expecting us to slip up and make mistakes. The important thing is not to say, well, I've done screwed up now, I might as well just
give up.
Forget it. Yeah.
We made forward progress. So in order to make the change, you got to keep going forward.
Right. So I would add to that the only way to really fail is to quit.
Yeah.
As long as you are picking back up, starting back over, it's not a failure. I always found that it was harder to deal with than something like, for instance, quitting smoking. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I didn't have to have cigarettes to live. I don't have to have food to live. And there's a fine line on either side where it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy if you don't eat enough, and it's unhealthy if you eat too much. And so, but I can't just quit food cold turkey.
Right.
I could cigarettes.
Right.
So
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I had the same issue.
It's harder. It's much harder because you have to have it to live.
For me, food begins the start to find balance in my life.
Exactly. It took way longer than overnight to get this weight on here.
Yes.
It's going to take way longer.
So I'm going to be kind and gentle with myself. And I've decided, now this may not be right for everybody, but I've decided not to pay attention to my outside numbers, the numbers on the scale.
Right.
Because I know that's going to trip me up if I start looking at it too hard. But I also know that when I'm working and I don't see something working on the outside, but I know I'm still working on it, that things are still moving on the inside and that the outside form takes longer to show up. So I quit looking at the scale because I was not seeing that fall quick enough and I would lose hope. So I've decided to just let the numbers go, knowing that this is a process and I'm going to get to where I need to be.
Right. Good. Good for you.
And that took a lot of pressure off of me.
Good for you.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not out to punish myself this time, and
Right.
that's a major difference. So I've been being kind to myself, setting up a prayer partner, and then having a different plan and deciding this time I wasn't going to look at the numbers. I was just going to work on the inside of me, and the outside will follow. I see that as acts of self-love.
Yeah, I agree. I look at it now as if one of my kids were overweight, I wouldn't be talking to them the way I talk to myself about being overweight. And why can't I treat myself just like I wouldn't walk up to somebody on the street who's overweight and say some of the things I say to them. So why do I do that to me? Why don't I do it to them? Because that's not loving.
Right.
So why treat myself worse than somebody I don't even know? So we need to be nice to ourselves. Okay, lesson 1. Are you ready for lesson 1?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
What did lesson 1 do for you?
It was really good.
It was good, wasn't it?
It was really good because it started my look inside. And why is it here?
Was it hard?
Some of it was hard to look at. But I had made the commitment to myself to be truthful. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to be truthful, to be honest with yourself. And I know I'm not going to let this go until I can do that. So I absolutely dug into it and, got the journal and really did the work. For me, I have seen it as a wall for many, many years. So to see myself actually taking down the wall with everything I looked at, knowing I'm pulling another brick out, that was really helpful.
Yeah, I like the visualization at the end where we look at the bricks and ask God to make them disappear.
Yeah. I also had to let go of the fear of letting it go.
Why do you have fear around that?
Because I used it as protection for so long. So I had to find another way. I had to deal with the issues that I needed the protection for. And once I dealt with those issues, then I could start to let it go. But I still had a residual fear of letting it go.
Yeah. Wow.
So I had to deal with that too.
That's a good insight.
So that's something that came up again when I looked at this. There was an automatic, am I really ready to do this?
I'm beginning to see where the outside truly is a reflection of the inside. And so if I have something on the outside that I'm not happy about, then it's because there's something on the inside too. And if I would get rid of the stuff on the inside, then the outside's going to be better as well.
Yep.
So that's really beginning to click with me.
Yeah.
When the weight is gone from your consciousness, it will be gone from your physical experience.
Yeah, I've had that experience too.
Really?
Yeah. When I really got into, as a friend of ours is fond of saying, got a Mercedes worth of therapy behind me. When I was going through that and wasn't paying attention to the weight, but when I was truly working at it, the weight was falling off. And we don't think about the emotional and psychological waste.
When we stuff the stress or the sadness or the emotions, it
that
has
is
to come
just waste
somewhere.
product that we're parking. And guess what? I chose to park it here. And I just never looked at weight like that. But it is truly that. It is psychological waste material that I've just parked. It's literally energy that I've said, no, I'm going to hold on to this. Because I was an emotional eater, and I'm saying was because I've turned the corner. I'm no longer. Because I was an emotional eater, when I get upset or something, I'll just dive into whatever this is. I enjoy this, and it'll get better. Now, see, yes, I was parking the pain by trying to eat it. Yeah, it was a long process,
but it was an eye-opening process.
But it really was, because I can fool myself and think, oh, I don't have anybody I need to forgive, and then you ask yourself a simple question, and the list just keeps ticking. I mean, it was unbelievable how some of these I thought, no, I'm good with that, and then when I'd sit with it for a moment, it'd start bubbling up like a spring.
Well,
every time now I think about picking up something to alleviate the pain or avoid the pain, I'm going to think, am I willing to sear this into my flesh? Almost like a branding.
Good question, yeah. Am I willing to carry this around with me?
Exactly.
Literally, carry it around with me.
Am I comfortable enough with this to brand myself with it? Because that's exactly what I'm doing when I add another pound.
That's a good insight.
Yeah.
If we're not supposed to stuff the pain, what do we do with it? What are you going to do next time you're in pain? If you can't stuff it?
Well, my first call out is going to be to my prayer partner, who is wonderful at helping me see the love in it, the higher road, so to speak, the higher thought. It's wonderful at helping me see that. In the interim, until I can do that well, and I've got a doll that I can beat.
Your damn it doll?
Yes. I could use the damn it doll, or I could, I don't know, sometimes just screaming, yelling helps. Just to get rid of that immediate, not at someone. I'm talking about, in a closed room, but obviously we've got to find another way to express the emotion, the energy.
Right. And I think just letting God have it is going to be my first. I'm going to try to make that my first reaction now, is to turn to Him instead of the food or anything else for that matter. It's just to give it to God and say, here's the pain.
Yes, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to. But I need other tools first
to
get there.
Right.
Because I know from experience that if I turn it in immediately, I beat up on myself. And then that's where it comes from. Yeah. So I've got to turn away from doing that. So I've got to express it in another way. Call a prayer partner, go to an empty room and holler, beat that doll. Whatever I've got to do in order to get rid of it immediately, and then turn to. So I avoid hurting myself first.
I think what's helped me is to try to look at things objectively, take the emotion out of it, and see, should I really be hurt about this? Is this something that I've been mistreated in? And if so, then what do I need to do about it? And to look at it objectively, which is not always easy.
No, it's not. But you're not as unemotional as I am.
That's true.
And so sometimes I need other people to help me see objectively.
Right.
So I realized, okay, I've still got some unforgiveness around that particular area, and a lot of it was forgiveness for myself. I forget a lot of the times that I've got to forgive myself.
Right.
I am so willing to say to another person, that's okay, you're forgiven, I can forget that. But I hang on to my role in it and don't forgive myself, and that's a lot of it right there.
I found that the biggest thing I needed to do was forgive myself as well. And the funny thing was, excuse me, I knew I needed to forgive myself. But when I started listing what I needed to forgive myself for, the list kept getting longer and longer. I thought, wow, I've really been harsh to myself. I wouldn't do this to somebody
One of the
else.
biggest things I had to, especially at the start of this, I had to forgive myself for the weight.
And to getting in this mess. And for me, the money and the weight go really hand in hand.
Really?
And because I have a lot of debt, and I just beat myself, because I really used to be completely debt-free. And then I've let myself get in this mess again. But looking back on it, I would have done it probably the same way, because you pay for your education one way or the other. And so I just look at it as an education. And that's helping. But I still realize that I haven't forgiven myself completely for letting myself get into this mess again. And I know that the only way to get out of this mess, whether it's the weight or the money, is to turn it over to God. And just do my part. Listen for the nudges.
And we can't let go of it until we can forgive it.
Right. Exactly.
As long as I'm holding a grudge or something, then I'm still holding it.
Right. And as I've heard Edwin say many, many times, that all debt shows unforgiveness somewhere.
Do you get that one now?
I think I do. I hope so, because I hope now that I realize that, the debt and the weight are going to just start falling away.
I'm ready to surrender it this time. I'm ready to let go of the reason it's there.
I'm ready to really trust God.
Yes.
In all things. Money,
Yes.
weight, whatever.
Yes.
And just live day to day depending on Him only. That's easier said than done sometimes.
It is. Well, that's why it's a practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start this practice.
Right. We've already started this practice.
We're on this.
We're going to keep doing this practice over and over again. Forever.
And we're going to be easy with ourselves. And we're going to forget.
Right. Dear God, please remove the wall that I have built around me. I have built it so strong, dear God, that I cannot tear it down. I surrender to you every thought of separation, every feeling of fear, every forgiving thought. Please, dear God, take this burden from me forever. Amen.
Amen.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Shreem, shreem.